If we could all stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Vote. Raise your right hand to open.
What? We got to vote.
We're good. We're open. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to take a moment of silence for Coach Troy Brody. Okay, thanks. So we will roll call vote. Jeff?
Mr. Lewis?
Here.
Mrs. Petrie? Mr. Stevenson?
Yes.
Mrs. Welker? Yes. Let me just
Yes. Election of Board of Officers. Motion to approve the appointment from the County Executive Office.
Second.
First, second. Eric, Beth, please. Do you need roll call or yes? All in favor? 4-0. All right. I think we need the three of you to come on up. Take your oath.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of Missouri.
and the Constitution of the State of Missouri.
And that I will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of School Board Director in and for the Hillsboro R3 School, County of Jefferson, State of Missouri, to the best of my ability, according to law, so help me God. You can have a seat. We're up. Just sit wherever they want.
Welcome to our world.
All right, at this time, I will discharge the duties of temporary chairperson for the election of the school board president. As in past proceedings with the district, the superintendent shall open the floor for nominations. The superintendent then shall call 3 times for nominations. A second will be required for each nomination. After the third call for nominations, at which time, if there are none, the chair will ask for a motion to close nominations. A member of the board will move to close nominations, and if seconded, the motion will require a 2/3 majority vote to close the floor. After nominations have closed, members of the board may vote one time for any one of the nominees. The candidate receiving the largest number of votes in the plurality, but not necessarily the majority, will be elected. If there is a tie between 2 or more nominees, those nominees who did not tie for the highest number of votes shall be eliminated from consideration, where the board will then vote again for those candidates who tied during the previous vote. The person receiving the highest number of votes, again in plurality but not necessarily majority, will be elected. Does any board member object to that process? All right, the floor is now open to accept nominations for the office of President of the Board of Education.
I nominate.
Nomination for Lisa Welker, made by Beth Petrie, seconded by Eric Stevenson. Call again, nominations.
Move nomination cease.
Got a motion on the floor for nominations to cease.
Aye.
I think according to the order it was we have to call 3 times. Will you withdraw that motion, please?
Sure.
Very good. Third time. Any nominations? Very good. Now, sir.
I move that nomination cease and that we pull up this by acclamation.
Second.
A nomination on the floor to cease, nomination cease and proceed by vote of acclamation made by Director Eric Good. Excuse me, Derek Good. Eric Stevenson, Derek Good. I'll have to work on that. And seconded by John Lewis. All in favor for Lisa Welker as President of the Board of Education, signify by raising your hand. Any opposed, like sign? Motion carried. Mrs. Welker.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Get my seat back. You need the book. We'll just switch out later. Yeah, we'll just swap it. While you're lucky. Thank you.
Look at that, his real hot tub. Because nobody will know what we have. Okay. Are you still doing that, or am I?
No.
We're still up here. Okay. Yeah. Because he's going to do everything.
Okay, so we'll continue with the organization, asking for nominations for vice president.
Excellent.
Second.
Any other nominations?
I move for Rob Cruz.
Do we have to do 3 again? Who did you say?
Rob Cruz.
Okay. Thank you. You need a second for that? Okay. Any more nominations? Last call. Okay. Nominations will be closed. And we'll take, right, we need a motion to close then, and all know that these nominations will be accepted. Thank you. First, Beth, and second, Eric. So we can just raise hands. All in favor of closing nominations? I almost forgot to vote. Okay. So, treasurer nominations, we don't need to take. Oh, we're voting, sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so we have two people. We have Eric and we have Mr. Cruz. So we're going to vote for Eric first. All in favor for Eric Stevenson, raise your hand.
Nothing personal.
And those in favor of Robert Cruz, raise your hand.
Tie.
We have a tie, which says
Vote again.
Okay. So we'll vote one more time. Those in favor for Eric Stevenson, raise your hand, please, for Vice President. Okay.
We'll just call John Turncoat.
And so those in favor then for Robert Cruz, we have 4. I did all. So Vice President will be Mr. Cruz. Thank you.
Congratulations.
So are we voting for treasurer then, or is that? Okay, so
It's all that unknown information.
Okay. Okay, we currently had a treasurer, Mr. Lewis, so we're going to ask for a motion to see that if the board still agrees to keep him in that position, is that correct? Okay, so do I have a
I
motion to
move to
retain?
keep John Lewis as treasurer.
Okay.
Pays well,
Okay.
his signature is on the.
So, all in favor of John Lewis continuing as our treasurer? Okay, motion carries then. Good. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to look at a resolution to change the checking account signature. Do I have a motion to adopt a resolution to continue using the current banking account signatures until new signature cards can be obtained signed, and then returned to the bank. Okay, Eric, and seconded by Beth. Any discussion on that? Everybody good? Okay, so can we just do, okay. We're gonna, all in favor then, raise your hand, please, for keeping that, okay? And the motion carries. Very good. All right, congratulations, everybody. Welcome to our new board members as well. That would be my special recognition, I guess, to you guys. Visitors, did we have any visitors signed up? I have to read this first. Okay. Okay, we do have two visitors, Dennis Bradley and Craig Calvert. You both will be addressing the board this evening. Couple of things to remember. You will be allowed 3 minutes to address the board. Please limit your comments to topics that are appropriate to bring before the board. The board president may interrupt you if your comments stray into an area that should not be discussed in open session. The Missouri Sunshine Law limits the ability of board members to respond to your comments. Consequently, it is unlikely that the board will engage in a discussion of your topic during this meeting. Okay, so Mr. Bradley, you're going to be discussing board appointments?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just going to read something, and it should take about 3 minutes. Mission accomplished is what I presume County Executive Ken Waller will be gloating about over his 3 appointments announced at a special meeting by the County Council on September 20th. But hold on, the vetting of these appointments were a slap in the face to the remaining 20 that had spent hours putting together their resumes and answering the questionnaire that was requested by him, like it was an important factor in the decision-making process. I attended the council meeting to discover why none of the candidates were interviewed, or at least find out how the screening was done and what criteria the board focused on for the selection of qualified candidates. To my astonishment, Mr. Waller informed me that there wasn't time to do interviews. So much for taking the Hillsboro citizens' concerns regarding their children's well-being so seriously. I'd like to inform Mr. Waller that the county law required him to fill these positions and that the people of Hillsboro depended on his immediate attention to make every effort filling these positions appropriately and fairly, not skip over people who may be more qualified without giving them an opportunity to establish their position as leaders in this community. He should have made the time. That's his job. He not only owes an explanation to the bypass candidates, but also an apology for the hard work and time it took the candidates to unsuccessfully earn an interview from a pool of the best choice applicants. He sold us all out and prevented us from having a fair chance to compete. Not only do we have enough looming crises to resolve, mostly due to the nepotism that everyone hates and no one will address, now we wonder if we are going to be strapped with cronyism because of county government. County Executive Waller showed even more absurdity by trying to do the vetting of these candidates after they were already installed as Hillsboro's R3 board member replacements. Considering that the questions asked were from the questionnaire that they should have already answered and turned in, all 3 of the candidates gave very generic responses and struggled while answering them. Perhaps if they would have attended regular board meetings as some of the other candidates have done, they should have known the facts and gave more knowledgeable answers. Mr. Waller obviously didn't do his homework or his job on this Hillsboro crisis. And I hope the people of this community remember this for a long, long time. Say until next election. I'm just saying.
Thank you for your thoughts and opinions. Okay. Mr. Calvert.
Can I pass these out real quick?
Okay.
Thank you.
First.
I'm here to address the issue that's been ongoing with the school district, that's been on hold due to board member's resignation. I'm glad to see the seats are filled. I don't know the situation Mr. Bradley's talking about. But I would like to move forward with this situation. What I've given you is two policies in neighboring school districts, one in DeSoto, one in Grandview School District. Grandview School Districts has been in place the longest. And I want you guys to understand that their school districts haven't been sued. The federal government hasn't threatened to defund them. There aren't threats going on in their school district. They have policies they put in place, and I would love to see you all move forward with this quickly. And as correctly as you could, and I want to read a Bible verse to you as you're thinking about. I've left most of this out up until this point, but I think this is very pertinent as you consider what this policy is going to be. It comes from Luke chapter 17, verse 2, and it says this: "It would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were cast in the sea, than that he should cause one of these little ones to sin." And I feel that's absolutely appropriate to the situation that we're in right now. By bending and wavering to the threats that are being made, I feel we're leaving ourselves wide open for that, especially. And I myself personally don't want to stand before an all-perfect and all-righteous God when that time comes and have to stand before him and say, answer to him why I allowed this to happen. So I'd like you all to look at these policies, and I would also like to make a recommendation for a special board meeting that we can speed this process along. I understand that it wasn't your all's fault that things have been put on the back burner. But at the same time, you have an awful lot of parents that have been very patient with the situation, and are wanting to see this move along rather speedily. I also would like to make a recommendation that you remove the current law firm that is representing the school district for misleading you all in the way that they have. With all the other school districts I've talked to, there hasn't been any issues of threats of defunding or anything else. That's all I have to say. And thank you all for doing what you do, guys.
Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on. We will look at the action items on the consent agenda. Is that correct? We have the approval of the board minutes from the September 24th meeting and the information on the hearing of the tax rate from September 24th as well. I can just go through it. Okay. We have the financial report, we have the attendance information, the investment data, the summary of our activities, the accounts, program evaluations, and an overnight trip request for the thespian conference. So we need a motion first to accept this, and then we'll have discussion.
Motion.
Okay.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. So we need a vote.
Need some discussion, please.
And we'll,
Discussion first.
oh, sorry, I
That's all right.
forgot.
I would rather us remove, for discussion purposes, from the consent agenda, item F1, the program evaluation of career vocational at AP, dual enrollment, tech and A+.
Okay, say that again, because I'm looking for the consent agenda and I don't know where it is.
I'd just like discussion on it.
Okay.
Which I have some
The
questions on
vocational
some
education,
other things
okay.
as well, but
Is this, okay, good. Because it's not my laptop, so I didn't know where it was. Okay, go ahead. why don't we go
If
ahead
you wanna do it
and
that way, that we can.
discuss? Sure.
All right. I just wanted to point out, in looking at the evaluation of the A+ program, I think we all know that, of course, funding is always an issue, whether it's going to be there, but it's a great opportunity for our kids. A lot of our kids participate in it, and I was surprised to see in the evaluation that we do not offer credit for that hour that they're enrolled in the A+. And I can see where that discourages our kids that are involved in other activities. You know, MSIP requires the 6 hours
Right.
of credit, and so if you're A+, you can't take a study hall and still get enough credits for main eligibility. So I guess part of my question, Dr. Foreman, whoever, who makes that decision, and how do we revisit whether or not we can give them credit for that?
Yes, we brought that to the board probably 2 years ago, and requesting credit for that part of the curriculum, and it was denied at that point, and we can certainly bring it back again.
I would ask that you do.
Okay.
Could I ask a question and kind of piggybacking this, that in that presentation, if this is brought up, address the issue of the appearance of maybe double dipping, that these kids are on school time getting credit, and then they're also getting their A+ tutor, you know. So that information I would like to be
Yeah, that's
addressed.
part of the,
Well, and I'd be interested to know how many students that really affects. How
as
many,
far as wanting to
right,
get the credit.
how many students that are athletes, because that's basically what we're looking at, are the athletes,
I think you have athletes and the
Band.
band kids, I mean, anybody who,
extracurricular.
you know, or even the kids that have, you know, jobs after school. You know, if they're trying to put in that many hours, I think that the other issue that I think would be good to know is, it indicates in here that other schools do it. So what are the other schools in the county doing? You know, are we on the minority or the majority in how we handle that?
So just kind of FYI on that one.
Because there are some schools that don't as well.
Right.
So, you know, just details on top. I had that written down too.
So, will we can still leave it on and not pull it, okay, for just future reference to discuss later?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think that we need to do anything. other
Okay.
than discuss.
Okay. Beth, you said you
Okay,
had something?
just some clarification for me and maybe the rest on the attendance. The percent in attendance, I'm assuming that is for this month of September, correct?
That's correct.
That
Percent
column,
in attendance.
Right,
That is the actual percentage rate of students that are here.
for the month of September
Correct.
2015, okay. The cumulative,
Yes,
that is for the beginning of school to the end of September.
that is correct.
That-
Under the MSIP 5 standard.
Right.
Where 90% have to be here 90% of the time in order to
Correct.
get all the points on APR.
But it's just for this school year, it is not
Correct.
cumulative over the last
That
4
is-
years,
yes, ma'am,
5
that's
years, et
correct.
cetera. So when I look at this, the month of September, for instance, kindergarten, they're first up there, kindergarten, sorry, Callista. But 95% for the month of September, but if you include August in that, then it drops to 87.
Not
Average.
necessarily, because the way you figure, I think our number is 17 days. And
Correct.
if any student misses 17 or more days, they will never be able to get 90% of the time for the duration of the school year, because they're mathematically eliminated.
Okay, now run that by me.
Okay, so let's say you have 174 student days. Well, now it's 16.8, so round it up to 17 days. If a student misses 17 days, let's say they missed August 17 days,
Right, they didn't come until,
okay? They will not be able to make 90% because there's not enough days left in the school year.
okay.
So when you say comparing 2 months together, yes and no, it depends upon more than just that. Because MSIP 5 calculation is different than just the number of kids that come to school.
Just the straight percentage?
Correct.
Okay. So is there qualifications for the MSIP 5? I mean, is that in our?
The only
MSIP
qualification is they have to be here 90% of the time in order to count
The qualifications.
for the qualification. That's the easiest way to put it, but the mathematical calculation, Jan, of what's about 3 pages.
Forget it. That's for,
Um,
you guys.
with several square roofs. I mean, I'll gladly give that to you.
No,
You can glance at it.
I was
but,
just, when I kept looking at this, I thought I can imagine that.
It doesn't
as
make
this-
sense, right, if
Well,
you're doing August and
seniors,
September.
it goes from 93 to 81, and this is the beginning of the school year, and I realize senioritis, but not yet.
Not yet.
Yes.
That's correct.
You know, so I needed to have that clarified again.
And what I also want to express is that if you have students that are on maybe a 10-day suspension, that counts until they come back, then it's those days are
Calculating.
recalculated. So that might not show until the next month. There's some fluctuation carryover.
Another question I had, and Kim Jackson is not here at Food Service, the program concerns, and I know that federally we're, have all kinds of requirements, et cetera. And one of the concerns has been the acceptance of students of the actual food.
Yes.
And so has that gotten better? Have they done
No.
anything to improve? It's just,
I mean, honestly, when you have students of low socioeconomic status, they're not used to eating whole grains, whole wheat.
Right.
And
it's not.
the cheese tastes different. It's just different. And we're trying to encourage palatability, I know, but you can't really stray from A, serving size, and B, the ingredients, because it's federally mandated of what goes into that ingredient. So we do offer a la carte with kids options where they can take something that they're maybe a little bit more used to eating. But for these purposes, I mean, it's federally being debated right now again about reauthorization of the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act. So depending upon what happens there, and a lot of schools are concerned because in the past we served healthy food.
Right.
Was it whole grain? Well, no. But when you get whole grain, whole wheat, kids really, I shouldn't say really, a certain group of the population struggles with the palatability of food.
Well, when I read that, I was thinking there was changing of recommendations.
Well, we hope that there might be some freedom at the local level to adjust what we're doing.
Okay.
And I'm answering the best I can without
Well,
being
that's, I know,
here, so.
and I understand that, which, and then on the student performance, graduation rate, 30 out of 30, and I realize that's a points 100%.
Yes, ma'am.
So.
Does that mean 100% of the kids are graduating?
Graduating, no, that was.
Because again, MSIP 5 doesn't necessarily mean 100% of your
Right.
kids graduate. You could have a 98, 96% attendance graduation rate and get all the points, if that makes sense.
Okay, so like MAP scores, those
Yes.
are back. Are we going
Yes.
to get
We
those
actually have a
at some
presentation
point?
ready for you this evening to go
Okay.
over with the APR.
I guess I
Mrs.
missed
Rainwood. It's not an agenda-related item. We were just going to put it in here
Include, okay.
for you if the board would like for us to proceed with that.
And the only other question I had on the overnight trip, I noticed that there were some possibility of males going along on the trip, and all the sponsors were female. Is that an issue? How do they address? I mean, I know how I addressed it when I was a state
We will
sponsor.
point that out to Mr. Marino. I can tell you this, actually, he's not here, so I'll check
Okay.
into that. When we were talking about the JAG, I sent that email out and said, hey, if there's males, we need mixed.
Right.
Because I know that Sam Nansel is that sponsor.
Sponsor.
And if I said if there are any females going, we must have a female sponsor go with them. So I can check into that and have them try to make sure they have a male to go with them, if
Either
at all
that,
possible.
or I know that when I was involved in on the state and national items, many times schools would communicate, and we have all female sponsors, but we're going to kind of room next to DeSoto, who has
a
male
male
sponsor.
sponsor to help us out.
So
Sure.
there's piggybacking going on.
I will check into that.
I've been in that situation, and it's sometimes interesting. Those were all my
So
questions.
was they wanting to give us that information?
Anybody else?
Yes, I think Mrs. Rain was
Okay.
ready.
I'm sorry, can I, real quick, since she was on the overnight trip, the executive summary on these, is good. One question I had, it's still a little bit confusing though, on what net cost to the district is, and like on the Studsby trip. It says PDC will be covering the hotel room for this Calista.
For sponsor.
But this says the cost of the hotel room is $125.40. Is that just for information that they're paying?
I think that's just telling you how they're covering expenses.
So
Typically, the breakdown is a little different than just this sheet. There's traditionally more, let me look at trip info. Yeah, if you click over to trip info, they normally complete a little bit more information. You scroll down, I think maybe the third page, Do you have that on your tab, trip
Yeah.
info? And it breaks down registration fee and the total, food allowance, lodging, 3 nights. It looks like that $125.40, PDC is only going to be paying for 1 night of that. Because it's $125.40 for 4 rooms. Lodging, well, actually, it's 3 nights.
So where it has total expenditures to be approved, that's the cost to the district?
That is correct.
But I thought it said the students, are we paying that up front and the students paying part of it
Yes.
because it said the students are paying
Typically,
that?
they reimburse or bring money, yes.
Okay, so we don't know what the, without really digging into it, we don't know what the net cost is.
Right, because students that bring money, you put it back in. Well, Mrs. Ginch can
Sorry.
speak to that.
It looks like they're charging it to an activity account. So either they've done fundraising or they're going to charge the kids, they'll deposit the money and we'll write the checks to whomever the checks need to go to.
Mrs. Lane?
My son is attending, so, or he's planning to attend if it's approved. They also have it broken down depending on how many kids actually turned in their forms. So she had given us a breakdown of what the cost would be if there's 4 kids in a room, 3 kids in a room, because they didn't know how many kids were able to attend at that time. So that may be another reason why they don't have an exact net cost. But the parents are paying for the remainder of what the fundraising did not.
I think in the past, what the board wanted is, the board approves all overnight trips. And so the kids aren't going to raise the money and bring the money until the board says it's okay to go. And I mean, that's traditionally how we've done it in the past.
I guess, you know, it would just be nice to know, is there a net cost to the district? I mean, if
Okay.
it's all money they're raising.
And that might be something we can add under total expenditures to be approved.
And believe me, I think we get more information we need on the trip. However, that would be one piece I think would be helpful.
What are your thoughts, Mrs. Ginch, about adding a net cost to the district after student reimbursements?
I mean, we can do that. I can usually tell by the account number. Like I can tell by this account number that's on here that it's all going to be fundraised money. That's absolutely.
Well, maybe we need to just put a little box.
Yeah,
Will the
that's
district be
not a
accountable
problem.
for any amount of money? If so, please list.
Or
That'd
they
be pretty simple.
we can write a note.
Or we can just tell them to write that in their executive summary, which would be easier than changing all the
I think
forms.
that's-
At least put in there for the board to see.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Jeannie, Mrs. Ring. Oh, that's right. She was going to share some of the APR results and the MAP scores. Our report card, maybe?
The information we're sharing is actually embargoed until tomorrow. I know Mr. Carberry's called me today working on the information, so we can share it, but
Go ahead, you go ahead. And close.
trying to work on it.
We have 2 mics.
There it is.
Okay, thank you. All right, I wanted to bring a few of the details to you as we go through our APR and our MAP. Of course, the MAP is the Missouri Assessment Program, and it's one of those huge parts of our APR, our annual performance report. And so the APR information, just some general information, approximately 98% of Missouri school districts are fully accredited this year. And that means that they've earned somewhere between 70% and 100% of their points, and that's 140 of points that are possible. And these are for K-12 districts. K-8 districts have a different number of points that they have to accrue. And of course, we're proud of the fact that we are making progress, and we have 89.6% of our points this year. And that shows that we have been making some incremental progress as we go through, and we're proud of that. We have had in the past with MSIP accredited with distinction, and one of the criteria is that a district has to earn the 90%. They also are wanting to have additional criteria. Those will be established by our State Board of Education, and the State Board has not yet established any of that. So for that reason, again, this year we will not be having accredited distinction determinations this year. We are, like I said, right at 89.6%, so we would have been very close had they had that criteria. Other points of interest for MSIP 5. This is the 3rd year of our MSIP 5, and 3 years is what the state utilizes for data to recommend accreditation for our districts. We, of course, are accredited.
Another point of interest with MSIP is that they use different types of measurement. They use status, progress, and growth. And this is how they calculate the scores when they are looking at the Missouri assessment that the students take, the end of course, the MAP-A, anything like that, but those are all part of this comprehensive score that we see for our annual performance report. There is a House Bill 1490 that does state that whenever DESE uses a new assessment, that results shall not be used to lower a public schools district accreditation. And that is in place, and they've called it hold harmless for this year. So with the 2015 assessments, there were many significant changes, and so for that reason, if the 2014 scores were higher, then the 2014 scores were counted instead of the 2015 scores, and that was because of all the difference in the assessment. There were several major changes in calculation. Every year they have a different LEA guide for MSIP, and they have in there how all the calculations are determined for our assessments, for college and career, for attendance, for graduation rates, all of those types of things, subgroup performance, but all of those things were part of the calculation for our annual performance report. This year it is in English and language arts only, not in social studies and science, but in English and language arts there is the hold harmless. And the hold harmless, like I said, means that if your 2014 scores were higher than your 2015, those were the ones that were used. Calculation of progress. One thing they have warned us against this year, because of the huge change in assessments, all online, that type of thing, we are not to compare what we did in previous years with these assessments. So we can see growth and some things like that, but they use a different type of curve. The optional end-of-course assessments. In the past, all the end-of-course assessments were utilized to compute our APR. This year, they took away all of that score that we have had in the past of optional tests, and it has not been used as part of the calculation. The only EOC tests, the end-of-course assessments that we are using and that are required, English 2, American Government, Biology, and Algebra 1. And that is Algebra 1 if the child takes it in the high school. If not, then it's Algebra 2. Okay, and those are the accountability assessments. This year, 11th grade, we had the ACT taken by all of the students, unless they were not taking it because MAP-A or some other thing of that nature. But all of our ACT scores were reported. And I'll show you in a little bit, those scores, they show us the reportable, they show us an average, and then this also counts in part of our college career readiness where our students are given a certain amount of points for the test and the score they receive. College and career placement, this is to our benefit. They have expanded that definition where they allow students to be counted as advancing themselves, and we receive credit. It used to be not related and related, and now many of the not related areas of either study or career will count for us as a district. The other thing was the additional changes they are talking about and wanting us to use dual credit in summer school. That's not been something we've done before. Also, ACT Work Keys is an acceptable assessment that was changed for that college and career readiness. I'm afraid the bill will go twice. This is a copy of actually what is embargoed until tomorrow, but the information is such that you can see what our percentages were this year, 2015, under the MSIP standards 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. The others
of course, are the totals for 2013, 14, and 15, and you can see that we've made some incremental progress as we go through, and we're up to the 89.6%. We were pleased because with our academic achievement, we were very, we stayed the same, but that was really one of those things that, that was an area where there was a lot of fluctuation in math and English language arts, and so we felt pleased that we did stay at 91.1%, which was what we had last year. As far as our subgroups, we did dip somewhat in our subgroups, and we, at the end, I will tell you some of the things that we are working on in order to improve some of that. College and career readiness, we actually came up a percent. We were at 22.5 last year, 23.5 this year, and we worked hard to move, or not percent, but points, and we worked hard to move those students and worked with them to understand the importance of some of the ACTs. This year we had some of the Compass, next year we won't be able to count that, but there are several different ASVAB, those type of things that we've been able to improve student scores and the number of students taking those scores, and that helps us in that category. Attendance, we are very happy with this too. We made, last year it was at 75%, this year it's at 95%. So that's a huge improvement, and that's helped us out there. Graduation, again, that's the 30, we have 100% there, of course, as we explained earlier. That doesn't mean that 100% of our graduates do graduate, but it does mean that we fall in that range of scores that allows us to get the full number of points. So we've gotten our 125.5 points out of 140, and we have 89.6%. At the bottom, you see the participation rate. That is the 11th grade ACT. This is a reportable score only and does not count as part of our APR, but you can see that we had a 19 average composite score, and our participation rate was 96.2. I say you can see that. I don't know if you can see it or not. It'll be bad. Okay. Can you make it larger, or is it just me?
No, it's not you.
We made it larger, but it's still not
You
very
ought to
large.
see it on this one.
This is just a breakdown of scores, and the main thing I wanted to point out, Steve, can you point to the math 2015 and 2014 there? Okay, you can see that the math 2014 is darker. Our scores in 2014 were higher than in 2015, so this is part of that hold harmless, where they allowed us to use the 2014 scores. This has happened to a number of schools because the tests were so different, the way kids were tested were different. So what they were trying to do was to make sure that no district became unaccredited or lost an accreditation status based on last year's scores. Subgroups, you can see that we have fluctuated some there. Some we used our 2014, or I think on both English and math we used 2014. Science and social studies, and that's an area that we are looking at. As I said, the subgroups in Missouri, there are 5 that make up this subgroup. Thank you. There are 5 that make up the subgroup, and that would be racial, the Black, Hispanic, free and reduced lunch, special education, and English language learners. Those are the 5 identified subgroups in Missouri. And so those are the scores that you see represented there. On down, college and career ready. We have a number of items there. The assessments, the top one, the 1-3, includes like your ACT, your SAT, the Compass, and the ASVAB. And we have 60% there. Our advanced placement scores, the 7.5, and then post-secondary placement is what I was talking about when they are allowing us to count students that have moved into a career that's not necessarily related to the type of training or type of courses they had in the high school level. Attendance, 95%, and then graduation again. So this is just a breakdown. This is what's called supporting data. In looking at all of this, and our principals and teachers utilize this data along with a lot of other items to determine where we need to shore up something, or if we are making good progress. What are we doing that's working, those types of things. And I talked with the principals, and I wasn't sure that everyone would be able to be here today because of the conferences, but there are a number of items we're working on. And there's some we're working on K through 12, and there are some that we're working on in specific grade levels. I am going to just go through a few of these, but what I would like to offer is that if you would be interested in having additional information on the progress that we're making throughout the year, that we would be happy to, put that information together and provide that for you at some point. One of the things that we've been working on is our STEM, which is the science, technology, engineering, and math. And we are looking at that mainly from the standpoint of increasing engagement and career readiness and in the areas of science and math technology, so that our students are more prepared as they go on into other courses at high school and on out to the career world. And then this is, like I said, a K through 12. We have Project Lead the Way, we have Gateway to Engineering at the junior high, and then K through 6, we've trained some teachers and we're bringing some of those STEM strategies into the classrooms so that all of our students are going to be benefiting from that. Math, we are doing some things with looking at standards. This year we're going to have Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is looking at standards and going to be providing us with a new set of standards. And we will be looking at those by the end of the year when they provide them for us. But we are, at this point, our teachers and staff at the junior high are putting together a countywide summit. And they're going to be having math teachers from across the county. Is it anywhere other than the county?
We got Camp Perryville.
Oh,
yeah.
So we have several. We have other counties come in. So, but this will involve not only our gen ed teachers, but also our special ed teachers. And there's a lot of information that goes back and forth with our teachers at this point, and gives them some good strategies for using in the classroom. As far as RTI, at the intermediate, they're adding additional time for math in RTI, and that RTI is response to intervention, and what that is just intervening, helping kids, giving them some additional support as they go through their academic day. Also, with ELA, we do have our new materials and resources this year, and we are utilizing those, and it has increased the rigor of our English language arts, and we are looking at not only just reading and language arts, but including the writing component, and all of that has been one of those things that teachers have worked on collaboratively, and it's been strengthened by our materials that we have this year. We're increasing some technology at the junior high, and with Chromebooks, the teacher collaboration, we feel very strongly that the increased time for our teachers to have this year with professional development, as far as they have some collaborative time with PLCs or professional learning communities. They will continue with assessment for learning, and they will also have additional work time where they can meet with their grade levels if they want, or they can work on things that they need to prepare for some of the lessons, like the English language arts or whatever they may be working on at that point. We are also working on common assessments at the level where, summative level, and we are giving teachers time to work on that, and we are also looking at having consistent scoring strategies in our grade books and things of that nature. So all of these things add to the ability of us to get an accurate measure of a student's mastery, and that's where we want to be. We want to know actually what our students learning, and then we also want to engage students, and we want them to persist to graduation. And one of the things that we've really worked on in the last couple of years is having students understand where they are in learning. Do they know what they need to master? Do they know what they have mastered? And do they know what kind of support do they need? And this is all done with the support of an instructor or a teacher. It's not, we don't put them out there and they just are on their own, but this, we help them set goals, and they are responding very positively about finding out what kind of materials they need to learn and where they want to be. And so they set those goals, and they set them pretty high. So we've been really pleased with that. We have a number of activities and a number of programs that are for students with at-risk. If you need additional support, we have programs at the high school, we have our alternative school, we have School is Cool, we have a lot of things that we do to support our students to make sure that they get to school and that they want to be here, and when they're here then they can learn. If they're not here, we don't even have a chance. So we're really working on attendance and working to see that they get here. Also at the primary, there's again the third year working on the PBIS, and to improve behaviors and to help students monitor their own behavior and to be, you know, ready to move on to higher grade levels. And they use that data to help set new goals for the students and for the building. The high school has worked a lot on ACT prep classes. They are providing opportunities for students to take the ACT on Saturdays. We continue to work with Jefferson College, Missouri, University of Missouri St. Louis, offering dual credit and things of that nature, continuing to offer additional AP courses, and trying to find a wider market of courses to offer to students as they go into different careers. We are increasing at the high school the number of students that are pursuing math, science, technology, and engineering-based college or career pathways, and that's a lot of why we are looking at that STEM, because that does help at a younger level to engage students in that type of coursework and in that interest in the science and technology. That's probably, as far as the attendance, we have work, they started, I say we, I have to give credit to the principal really, and the staff, but we've worked so much on attendance, that has gone to the 95% mark, but we continue to work on that. We want to make our students aware how important it is to be here, and our parents and the community to support students being in school. And of course our graduation rate, like I said, persistence to graduation, all the things. It's not just about high school, it's about starting at the very beginning and making sure that our kids stay engaged in school from kindergarten all the way up, so that when they reach a high school level, they're there to stay and then move on after they graduate. So, any questions or comments? I probably left some things out.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely appreciate Mrs. Rain getting this together. I know her, Dr. Isaacs, and I visited, kind of trying to determine what we can do as a district. One of the things we're focusing on heavily as an administrative team is for a lot of years, our buildings have seemed like islands instead of a continent. So we're working collectively to try to develop a continent theme within our district. I greatly appreciate the teachers and their hard work and dedication, our kids and their performance. You know, it's a struggle, but each year I see us getting a little bit better, and that's what it's all about. Our admin team meeting, we talked about change is inevitable, but growth is optional. And as a district, you know, things are going to change, but we have to learn to continue to grow and if you don't, we become stagnant. So I appreciate all the administrators' hard work and efforts. Mr. Marino was able to get us some attendance boards, so anytime you go into a building, please look around and you can see daily attendance, how our kids are doing. So we definitely appreciate that. And I also want to comment openly and publicly that our staff has done a great job. We've seen a big reduction in the amount of time our teachers are out of the classroom. Their attendance has really improved, and we greatly appreciate that. And so that's really what I want to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Range. That was
Thanks.
very informative. Lots of information. Okay, we still have a motion on the floor, I believe, that we need to take a vote on, having to do with approving the consent agenda and all of the items on it. Any more discussion at this time? Okay. So we'll take a vote just by show of hands. All in favor? Okay. Very good. Okay. Going to reports. You have some things to share with us?
Sure. I wanted to point out, if you were able to pull up the superintendent report, just a couple of comments. At the last meeting, we were asked to look into the Region 7 training that's going to be held at Ferguson, Florissant, or is it their central office? I'm not for sure.
McClure.
McClure North?
Something, yeah.
McClure North, maybe. And as you can read in there, there is no deadline for that registration. We can do an on-site registration on October 29th. If you want to go, please check your schedules. Let Beth Ann know so we can at least try to register you. If you want to ride, we can all ride together, take a school van. I would drive you on the school bus. If you would like to ride the bus up to there, we can do that as well. So please be considering that and give us some direction. We were also asked to look into the MSBA video series superintendent evaluation. As you can read there, the cost is $75. We do not own that, but you will have a login if you want to review superintendent evaluation, get familiar with that process. Also, we have a policy committee meeting coming up on October the 28th. I believe that Board President Welker and Director Petrie sit on the policy committee meeting. It is going to be the 28th of October. One of the things that we were asked to send to the committee was policy ACAE, which now has 2 versions. I appreciate Mr. Calvert bringing up his policy to us from those districts. Those are Tom Mickus's policies that was drafted through his organization. MSBA now has a second version out that looks similar to the one Mr. Calvert gave you. So my question is, as you read there, I need some direction. I would prefer to hand the policies to the teachers and ask their opinions and then bring that back to you. There is some attorney-client privileged information that we could also give out, but I would like to refrain from doing that, but it's the pleasure of the board what you would like for us to do with regard to that. Once I talk about the privileged information, it's no longer privileged. So it's between you as a board and your attorney. So if you want me to tell the teachers what the attorney's perspective is, or if you just want me to get the teacher's perspective, I just need a little direction on that.
Question to you, why, is there a reason why we should not share that information? When I first read it, I thought, to me, turn that over to the policy committee and let them look. I mean, now I have 5 policies instead of the 4 that I had looking at, but to me, everybody should have that information as well, because they're kind of comparing the different options.
That's why I wrote that in there. I said I need direction if it's appropriate, and so
is it appropriate? I have no problem.
Okay. All right. So what we'll do is get the attorney comments, and I'll have Beth Ann will be there with me, and we will share that with the staff.
Before the meeting, so they have time to actually.
We can do that.
Okay.
We've already sent all of the policies out.
Right.
What we have not done is sent attorney comments
And I would,
on those policies.
unless there's some reason, I would email that to everybody on the policy committee so that they have a chance to digest it.
Is everyone okay?
Yeah.
All right.
Don't like last
Will that
minute.
also include, even though if we're not on the committee, will that include the entire board?
We can, I actually have yours right here. So we can hand that to you, but I can also extend that email to you. But do we send those in zipped format, Beth Ann, or do we just keep attached on one at a time in the email?
This time I sent
Oh, okay.
Well, I did both. I did it both
Sure.
ways.
I want to say that because if your email might not hold unless it's zipped. So we'll try it both ways. You actually have copies here that I'll hand you tonight. But if you want a hard copy, I'll bet they can email you that as well. Next, board docs. We've been, I say we, Dr. Isaacson has been working diligently on that. I know Beth Ann, Dr. and I have sat down, discussed about going to an online board doc. One, to cut down paper. Two, to help with the 48 hours. We were able to zip those emailed to you, which has really helped us. But what I would also like to be able to do is with the board docs, we can upload that directly into the system. You will have a log on. The community would actually be able to log on as well, see everything in a different format than what they're viewing now. Because the PDF uploaded now is nothing but page after page after page. It's hard to get to. It's not very user friendly. In the interest of transparency, we want to try to get the community where they can get in there and ask questions, be prepared also when they come to the meetings. There's really three. One is an exorbitant cost, so we're going to try to shy away from that, but we have two. I encourage you to go to Festus website. Festus has one that we are looking at.
Of the most cost-effective St. Joseph School District would be an electronic school board.
Okay.
And
so take a look at those two.
Festus and Herculaneum use web school tools. It's much cheaper. It's very cost-effective. It just doesn't have like the searchability where you'll be able to literally put in a keyword and search a previous board
Like
meeting.
I would need.
Right.
You know, sure. Which would be nice. It's just that feature is much more expensive.
It's going to be similar to our, well, I hope our board policies before they changed the new format. The old format was so much better. But it will actually be housed, and that site will be monitored, and we're trying to determine, we'll bring to you, as I wrote here, some more information about that cost breakdown associated with that, and let you decide what direction you'd like to go as a board. But before we do that, we just want to make sure that I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence, but everyone's tech savvy enough and has good internet speed at home to access, because I know my internet goes in and out half the time, be able to access that information. So check that out, and we'll get you some more information next month. Our next thing I want to bring up is time clocks. I know I don't want to read verbatim, but I want to make sure that our new board members are up to speed. During negotiations with our staff, salary and welfare back in the spring, the question was brought up, can we go to twice a month type pay? And it was expressed that we do time sheets that are handwritten, and it's very difficult to move to that. At that time, the board asked us to look into time clocks. So we are in the process of reviewing time clocks. The administration, myself, Dr. I, Mrs. Ring, have sent through a time clock training. We've narrowed it down to a couple. What we need is one that, right, Mrs. Gaines, that communicates directly with our software that goes into our accounting software. So that's where we're at now. We're really down to one company. So be looking for more information to come out with that. The issue with the paying more than once a month is if we can't get the timesheets in, we're not going to be able to cut payroll. So with that, I also gave you some informational readings that you can glance down through. One is chronic absenteeism. I received a dear colleague letter today from the United States Attorney General's office discussing about attendance and what they're doing at a national level to increase attendance and move away from that absenteeism in schools across America. And as you see, it's interesting that it talks about 10% of the school year, which is about 18 days, and that's what we talked about a little bit ago, how that impacts student achievement. That's a key for us as a district, is if the kids aren't here, they fall behind, they lag behind, we're unable to keep up with them, so we want them to be here and to successfully achieve in the district. Information just reading from the MSBA, Missouri Association of School Administrators legislative platform this year about what we support, what we're trying to do at the legislative level in Jefferson City for school districts across the state. So I'll let you kind of glance through that. Some of the things that we oppose. It's interesting when you read through here that even administrators, if you read MASA opposes basing a teacher's pay a district salary schedule, layoffs, or tenure solely on teacher evaluations until funding can be dedicated to effective teacher evaluations and evaluator programs. It's not fair for the state to say we're going to cut teachers based on their performance when they're not giving us the financial resources to send teachers out for professional development. If they can't fully fund the formula, we're not able to train staff or evaluators. And it's costly. For our district, we were able, right, Dr. I, to have the trainers come here. We brought in DeSoto and area schools, and they waived some of the fees for us. So, I mean, all districts are looking at how we can cut costs while improving the outcomes in the classrooms. That's really all that I have for you this evening. I have upcoming events for you to kind of glance over. I want to say I really enjoyed the McAbeville State School luncheon I went to, and talking to some of our kids that's in the state schools. Their parents were there. And what I loved most about it was the care and love that are given to those students that need it most. But they actually have bulletin boards up of every school district that they serve. And they put news clippings from the leader, we appreciate Kevin in the paper, that allow the kids to keep up with what's going on in the schools, whether it's sports related or academic related. It was just really nice. They had jerseys up from the schools, and we went classroom to classroom and kind of walked through their day with them, so I really enjoyed that. Remember on Veterans Day, the 11th, that all district offices will be closed, and that's what I have for you. Also, Thanksgiving. Can't forget Thanksgiving.
Oh, right.
It's on there as well.
Okay.
I want to, Mr. Marino, please remember that we're going to start looking at net costs to the district on overnight and activity trips. Some of our student activity trips put money back into the program and raise money and raise funds, but we want to start looking at what is the total cost of the district. I'll talk to you more about that later.
Okay, next we have the report about facilities and the grounds by Mr. Best.
Good evening, everyone. For one may not know me, I'm Ray Nelson, I'm your director for buildings and grounds for Hillsboro. This evening, I just wanted to show you on my report that one of the priorities we've been looking at is a rayon situation we have at our junior high level at this time. We had met earlier with Dr. Corman and the administration a little bit of the junior high, and we were excited to put monitoring systems in these rooms. These rooms are included in room 305, 7, 9, and 11. This is our third wing of the science hallway. Okay. So we put the monitors in. The level for rayon is at 4.0. So what we did, we put these monitors in. They have alarm systems on. Anything over 4, they would go off, giving us indications of what was going on. We had been getting some high readings in there, so we decided that we would contact an expert. So we talked to St. Louis Rayon. Tom Gittin out there is going to also be here tomorrow to go over some steps, procedures, and look and see what we need to do as a school district to make sure those areas are maintained and safe. So we are continuing looking at those. We monitor them daily. We check the reads every morning at 6:30, and we report those information to Dr. Corman, the junior high administration as well. They get a weekly report. We also contact each other and talk to each other daily a little bit on things that we need to do. So we are addressing that issue, and we will have more information to the board as well as the administration and the staff of the junior high as soon as Tom gets here, and we look and see what we need to do.
So you're ready to kind of take action steps?
Yes.
It's been...
Oh, yes. Yes,
Well,
we have.
I mean, you've been reading,
Right.
and I understand that.
Like what we
Yes.
did was when we put them in the first week, I talked to facilities, I guess you're the committee, right? You're the facility
There you go.
committee. And we decided to put in the detectors.
Right.
Now,
Then
maybe
the-
hindsight being 20/20, I would have not put one in with a beeper, but because when it gets high, it beeps, and everybody's like, well, what's the record? You know, they get nervous. But for our perspective, we wanted to be able to track accurately, and that was the best unit out there. And Ray, the first week, we checked them. We looked at our mitigating measures that we performed back in the early winter,
Yes.
and try to determine, hey, is that still holding? We made a few minor repairs there and left the units in. They went off again. We put fresh air. We put more fresh air rotating into the buildings, which makes it a little cooler in there, but we have more fresh air being pumped in. We put them back in. Now, I want to say that really, Ray, we have one, maybe two rooms where the readings spike over 4.0.
Yes.
The other ones
there's
are
only two actually that's giving us a little bit.
Right. The other two, they're averaging, well, from 2.6 to 3.7 is one room, so that's underneath 4.0. One room is 1.5 to 2, so that's under 4.0. One room is going 2.9, 2.8 to 3. And one room is started out at 5.6. It's dropped 4.0, back up to 4.1, back down to 4. Now, Ray, talk a little bit about why we take the readings first thing in the morning.
The reason why we do this is in case everybody doesn't understand how radon gas works and what it is actually. It's in the ground everywhere you live, and including your homes. But what it does and everything, it is a dangerous gas that comes through cracks and crevices and so forth. And why we take it in the morning is because at nighttime, that's where that heaviest of that gas is going to be raising. Okay? So we take it early morning because we're going to get the best read, the highest read in most cases, than we would throughout the daytime, because during daytime, most homes or schools or any type of commercial building, you got opening and closing of doors. You got HVAC systems that's dumping fresh air from outside or whatever traffic you might be having. Some people, windows, doors, whatever it might be. That kills that or lowers that radon gas back to the lower levels. So we want that higher read in the morning. That's why we've been collecting that data with this and talking with Tom through St. Louis Radon. We are doing all the proper procedures and steps that we can until he gets here and tries to help us determine, well, now what is our next step to correct it and keep it under control. And that's what he's going to do. He's the expert on that category, and he will be here to help us with that information as well tomorrow. So, but we do have just like Dr. Corman stated, there is one room in particular, which is 307, that's really caused most of our air pocket issues. Now keep in mind, the reason why we have a little bit in that area, just so everybody knows a little bit of schematic of this building, that's a big joint where we had bolts put in when they did electric and your gas lines and so forth back in the 70s. So that's going to have more air pockets underneath your foundation. And that's where that comes from. So that's why sometimes you'll get a little bit more settling and so forth. We also have crack monitoring systems in every room that was set in by PSI about 2 years ago. That gives us where that foundation and the walls and the floors are doing, what they do with the plates with the earth at ground level, and it gives us that information where that thing's moving. Okay. At the same time, we also have the bullseye setups on the outside, which is what they call through Hillsboro Landscaping, our Land Surveying Corporation, where they actually shoot the side of the building with the lasers based on what those markings are. So they know exactly what that hillside is doing all the time for us. So they keep monitoring that as well for us. So we do have a number of outside agencies already in place and have been for the last 2 years. Monitoring that part. Now the radon come in new about a year ago, basically, we can say, with the state actually coming in and saying we need to check radon in all school districts throughout the whole state of Missouri, which, as everybody knows, there's over 1,000 school districts out there that they have to look at. So they did find some issues where they went and had to recheck this, and we qualified and we were fine. But then it came back up this year that, hey, you know, we'd like to know what's going on. So that's why we said to do, let's go put the monitors in and see what it does. And that's where we stand today. Tomorrow, we will hopefully stand a little bit more information. And I will continue to feed this information to the junior high administration as well as Dr. Corman and Mrs. Rain and Mr. Eisman. So we will keep informed of that. So hopefully that will help you understand where we're at with that and what the seriousness of this. We do understand this is a serious matter and we'll get it under control. So we want the staff and the students to be safe. Okay? Now, also just real quick on that, just so you guys understand the radon issue, it takes a long time to be in the situation with that to be a real serious health issue. Okay? It takes for someone who might be more educated on the scientific part of that, more than me maybe, but the way I understand it, it takes a long time to be at that high level in those situations before it becomes a real serious health issue, okay?
So the risk might come more so to staff than to students.
Yeah, I would say yes, totally.
Who's actually
Totally,
in
because
there?
they're gonna die in that
Students are
room.
there for an hour.
They're gonna be in that
Kids
room.
and staff
Staff
are
is there
Yeah.
from.
But again, during the daytime, those levels hopefully will.
They might spike, but they come down. And I think, and I agree with Ray, the research that we found is your home, where you sleep the majority of your time, that if that level stays high, that's an issue. But we're seeing a lot of spiking. It goes up and it goes down. It doesn't stay constant, which makes it difficult to pin down. And I think that's what happened when they brought in the monitors the second time.
Yes.
And they were seeing that overnight it built up, but then when the air kicked on and people were walking in and out, fresh air falling and coming in, they dropped down again. So,
And Tom gave us the same information, which when talking with my HVAC technicians, which are very knowledgeable of their jobs actually, they said the same thing. And when I talked with Tom, he confirmed that. Let's open up the fresh air, dump more fresh air into your economicals, and they will also help move that out of there. But what they think, basically what possibly could be, and Tom's saying the same thing, is that it's just trapped right now. And they're going to figure out how to get that untrapped. Now, is that to add more fresh air and dump it higher? We don't know yet. We'll try to find that out in information from Tom. So,
I mean, I think the next two options are like similar to an exhaust vent that's in your bathroom. The next is to actually bore a hole into the foundation, put a pipe up with another exhaust out the other side. So you're looking at anywhere from 600 to 2,500, 3,000 a room.
Yeah, exactly.
If it gets to that, that's the scenario. Yes.
Tom did tell us, we told him the detectors we're using, he was very impressed with the ones we did pick. He said you can't get anything more accurate though. So that thought maybe still go on that part at least. So that was good. Yeah, it beeps. I'm sorry about this. It interrupts the class.
It does interrupt class. I will say that. It does.
So that's what that thing about it. So, but hopefully after a few more days it won't. The other thing I wanted to point out to you in the junior high level, and this might be a little bit new to the junior high administration, but we have a drainage ditch system over there that handles the water off the parking lots and so forth. And we've had a little bit of problem with the grates being broken because of the weight of vehicles, age of it, and so forth. And what we looked at was we decided it had to be repaired, and it's going to cost us about $800 to repair this thing, because it has to be a certain weight quality of grid that holds buses and all that. We looked at possibility, and this is just a thought that I'd like to present to the board to get recommendations on it, and it can go back to Dr. Corman, of course, to feedback to me if you wish. We would like to have consideration of putting a speed bump system over at the junior high because of the amount of speed we're seeing and watching vehicles go in and out of that right in there. And the reason why that, if that thing would ever collapse and someone would ever fall through that thing, it would damage the vehicle pretty hard. So our intent basically is always going to look at safety. And that's one of the things we feel like in those scenarios with that type of grade, that much going across the road, that would actually help us in the safety factors. So I'm presenting that to the board basically a little bit this evening to at least consider us allowing us to do that. These speed bumps we're talking about are 6 foot wide. They're only 2.5 inches tall, but it would be enough to slow a vehicle down a little bit to not take the impact on that drainage system for us.
Ray, are you considering the entryway of traffic or
yes,
the exit
entry
both
going
sides?
in. Just entry going in at this time.
Just entry, okay.
So they feel like what will happen is once they come in, they'll realize they're there, but also the exit way is actually in front of the building, are not going over the top of those grids anyway, legally.
Sure.
Unfortunately, we see it going the other way many times, but we're hoping to avoid that.
So is that something that you would do or an outside
Yes, we would do that.
contractor?
We can install these. These are portable speed bumps, basically, that we could actually remove if we needed to. But,
Duct tape, hot glue.
So, but I would like the board at least let them know what our situation is. But some of these drainage systems are very important. I know Director Lewis knows about all this being in the committee, how important these things are and what they can do to you if they're mismanaged or damaged.
So let me interrupt you.
Yes,
Does anybody have a problem with him addressing the issue with speed bumps then?
Well, I guess my question is there budget funds that, is there a fund, do you have money in to do that?
We do, sir.
And I'm not sure it's a board level decision.
Yeah.
Typically, when we do any modifications to the facility, in the past, the board wanted to know about it. So, I mean, that's, we're just following past practice
I understand.
with past board members. So
I'd say it's
we're more than
just-
happy with making that decision and not wasting your time with it.
Right.
It's his
We
job.
just want to make
You
sure, yeah,
recommend
no,
it, go for it.
yeah. We just want
So no
to make
issues.
sure it's ground correctly. At the intermediate and everything, just want to let you know that they have completed, Reinhold Electric has completed the upgrade, or the new panels at the old football field due to the storms we had in July. Unfortunately, after they got done, we turned power on for the youth football team. We found out some of the poles didn't work right. So they came in, did a resurvey for us, and they found the issue. It was a direct short. They built, it's probably caused a lightning strike, but what they've done is we, thanks to Becky Henley, who is our insurance secretary for the district, she worked with David with Music Insurance, and we were able, after finding out yesterday, that they're going to cover that back into the same claim we had, which is about $4,000 worth of work. And they're going to go ahead and let Reinhold finish, come back and finish helping us get that all back up and running. So it will fall on each claim, and it'll be no expense to the district that time. So to let you know what the situation was with that. Let's see. The elementary and everything, we got good news on the playground. We've been fighting that. You can ask the administration there, where we've had some safety issues in the playground where the pads have been spreading apart. We're concerned about the safety of children walking around there tripping on things, because some of the gaps are pretty wide. We got with All Exclusive, which is one of the team groups that put it all in 06, which works for Little Tykes down in Farmington. And they put it all in, so we talked with them. They got all the product from what we call Soft Services Corporation. They came in, looked at it with them, and with all of them together, they did come up with a solution that they could get it all fixed for us, put it back intact, be safe for the kids and the staff, of course. Cost us about a couple grand, but we've got that in our budget to help take care of. But it will be a good safety factor getting the kids both out there and play without having to worry about tripping. So normally, I know I'm talking with Pete with All Inclusive. They all Soft Services just got done doing one up north, and they told them they wouldn't do anything to help them, which cost that school district about $12,000 to replace it. So we're in luck. So we'll take that $2,000. So
That's right.
all right. Throughout the last month, just so you know, we did do 135 work orders just to keep up with the district and trying to keep things maintained for the district and the buildings. And on that, congratulations everybody. Thank you. Any questions?
Ray, I had a question.
Yes.
I used to give Jenny a hard time about this, and it never got done.
Okay. See what I can do.
At the elementary school,
Yes.
and you may laugh at me, but the basketball hoops are physically mounted to the wall.
Uh-huh.
Why are those
In
at
the gym?
regulation height when we've got elementary school kids that when they play, they don't play at regulation height?
That's a very good question. How
I'd
about
just
if I
like you to look
into
at
that?
it, see if that can
How
be.
about if I look in that and see what I can do?
Thank you.
I will do that. No problem.
And I
Anything
can
else?
tell Jenny that you got it done.
All right. Yeah. She'll tell me about this. Let me see it too.